Coming up on Arirang News. Millions of people in Korea begin traveling, most of them heading to their hometowns as the country is celebrating the Lunar New Year holiday, Seollal, this weekend. Tonight, we go live to Seoul Station, where one of the largest exoduses is expected. To help small business owners and the self-employed with high interest rates and inflation, the South Korean government is offering financial support when it comes to interest rates as well as tax and utility bills. President Yoon says an inter-Korean summit could be held only if there are guaranteed results. This while North Korea strikes down laws related to inter-Korean economic cooperation. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. The 4-day Lunar New Year holiday, or Seollal, begins tomorrow. This means that millions of people begin traveling across the country to see loved ones or go on holiday. Let's go straight to our correspondent, Song Yoo-jin, who's standing by at one of the country's busiest transportation hubs. Yoo-jin, first of all, happy Lunar New Year.
Well, happy Lunar New Year to Well, first of all, Happy New Year to you too, Jiyoung. I'm currently at Seoul Station, one of the major railway stations here in South Korea, known for serving the largest number of passengers here in the country. Now, we've been here for a couple of hours, and we're seeing more and more people coming here to board their trains after work and school. The last train departs here at around 11:30 p.m., so we still have a couple of hours left, but most train tickets are already sold out, including the standing seats. So the Ministry of Transport expects more than 28 million people, which is more than half of the population, to be on the move from today until next Monday, which is the last day of the 4 days Seollal holiday period. Now, this is up 2.3% from last year and is actually the largest estimate since 2019. So let's first take a listen to what some of these travelers had to say.
I feel a bit sorry for not being able to visit my parents that often, but at the same time, I'm happy to be able to see them.
I wanted to go on a trip with my family, but because there are so many people on the move, I think we'll just stay home.
I'm also going to spend some time with my family. I'm going to walk my dog.
Well, it certainly looks crowded out there. Yoo-jin, for those planning to travel during this holiday season, what will it be like this year?
Well, today is just a start, so we're going to see more major highways, railway stations, bus terminals, and airports even busier tomorrow. In fact, a survey conducted by the Korea Transport Institute shows that for this year, most people prefer to travel on Friday, which is the day before the actual Seollal day. As for the returning journey, most prefer to travel on the afternoon hours of Sunday, which is the day after Seollal. So if you're planning to travel, these 2 days will be the busiest for you. As for the mode of transportation, most answer that they'll be driving by car, followed by riding trains and airplanes. So to really minimize any inconvenience caused by this mass travel, the government has designated today throughout next Monday as a period for special transportation measures. Key measures include waiving the highway toll fees from tomorrow, as well as expanding public transportation services, which include buses, trains, airplanes, and ships. So a total of more than 839,000 additional seats have been made available for those who are traveling, and this is when compared to the non-holiday period. That's all I have for now. Once again, happy Seollal, Jiyoung.
Happy Seollal to you too. That was our Song Yoo-jin live from Seoul Station. Thank you. And Korea's politicians took to the streets of the capital city this morning to personally greet people seeking an early journey home to celebrate the Lunar New Year holiday. Members of the ruling People Power Party, including its interim leader Han Dong-hoon, were at Seoul Station earlier on this Thursday, while their counterparts of the main opposition Democratic Party, led by its leader Lee Jae-myung, were at Yongsan Station. Other big-name politicians, including Lee Jun-seok and Lee Na-kyun, who recently launched their own parties, were also out and about as we count down roughly 2 months to the general election.
And unveiled ahead of the holiday were more measures to help small business owners suffering from high interest rates that include tax breaks. Our correspondent Lee Soo-jin has more.
Small business owners and the self-employed battling persistent high inflation and interest rates, among other woes, will soon get some help as the government is stepping in to ease their financial burdens. Plans to provide support for interest, tax, and utility bills were announced during this year's 10th public debate session held on Thursday that focused on improving people's livelihoods.
코로나 시절 소상공인과 자영업자는 영업시간 제한과 사회적 거리 두기로 고통을 받았고 그때 늘어난 부채에 고금리가 더해지면서 지금까지도 큰 부담이 되고 있습니다.
More than 2 million small business owners and self-employed workers will receive interest payment refunds of around 1 million won, or about $750 per person on average. The government will also provide consultations for business owners to help them switch from high-interest loan plans to low-interest ones. Additionally, micro-businesses that generate less than $22,000 in annual revenue will receive subsidies of up to $150 for electricity bills. Eligible businesses can start applying on February 21st and will receive the subsidies early next month. And to alleviate tax burdens, the government will relax the upper threshold for businesses eligible for simplified tax payments from $60,000 to $78,000 in annual revenue. Simplified taxpayers pay 1.5 to 4% of their revenue as value-added tax, while standard taxpayers pay 10%. The government is also implementing policies to overcome labor shortages, one of which is connecting small to mid-sized companies with software professionals from India and Vietnam. It will also expand the issuance of E9 visas for non-professional workers to bring in 165,000 foreign nationals to work in the manufacturing, restaurant, and hotel sectors. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
As Lunar New Year approaches, grocery shoppers here in South Korea are gearing up for the holiday. However, despite inflation slightly easing last month, high prices for agricultural products continue to pose challenges for those preparing holiday food. Our economic correspondent Shin has the details.
While some consumer groups claim that the cost of preparing a Charye table has increased significantly from the previous year, the South Korean government says it is at a similar level to 2023. The Korean National Council of Consumer Organizations reported that the cost of groceries for a Charye table for a family of 4 jumped 8.6% from the year before. On the other hand, according to the Agriculture Ministry on Wednesday, the cost only rose by 0.7% on year to 309,641 Korean won, or around $230. Despite consumer prices dropping to the 2% range for the first time in 6 months, skyrocketing fruit prices are putting a dent in consumers' wallets.
The soaring prices of fruits, vegetables, and manufactured goods made me hesitant to buy, but I ended up purchasing them to celebrate Seollal with my family.
The prices of fruits and vegetables have gone up a lot. I even hesitated to buy zucchini as the price doubled.
Fruit price in January surged by over 28% from the previous year, 10 times higher than the over-average increase. Apple prices in particular jumped more than 50%. One expert attributes higher fruit prices to abnormal weather conditions.
Apple prices have skyrocketed since last year's Chuseok. Abnormal weather conditions, including cold waves, have resulted in poor apple harvests. Since the country doesn't import apples, prices are rising due to limited supply.
In response, the government aims to lower prices by allocating an all-time high of 84 billion won, which is around $63 million, to provide discount coupons for the purchase of agricultural, livestock, and fisheries products. Tariffs have been slashed on 6 imported fruit types, including pineapples, bananas, and mangoes. However, the issue is that apples and pears, which have seen the highest price increases, aren't included because the country doesn't import these fruits. That means the government plans to address the soaring fruit prices by substituting traditionally used fruit with others, since it cannot dramatically increase domestic production of apples and pears. Shin, Arirang News.
South Korea's Fair Trade Commission has hinted that it'll review its Anti-Monopoly Platform Act prior to a further legislative push amid pressure from the U.S. and an industry backlash. The country's antitrust regulator on Wednesday said that the bill, which was planned to be released before the Lunar New Year holiday, has been indefinitely postponed as it was deemed desirable to collect more opinions from the industry. Tentatively named the Platform Competition Promotion Act, the bill is aimed at designating major platform players like Google, Apple, Naver, and Kakao as market-dominant operators to combat unfair practices such as tie-in sales and exclusive agreements. But it did reiterate its determination to regulate digital platforms. President Yoon says an inter-Korean summit could be possible only if results are guaranteed. This as he held a New Year's interview with a local broadcaster. That being said, our defense correspondent Choi Min-jung covers his remarks on inter-Korean matters and related security efforts.
South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol hinted that an inter-Korean summit could be possible only if it guaranteed results. Speaking in an interview on KBS TV on Wednesday, Yoon said this would only happen using a bottom-up approach.
북이 핵을 포기하든 안 하든 남북 정상회담 할 수 있습니다. 또 이것이 탑다운 방식으로 해서는 곤란하고요. 버텀업 방식으로 양국의 실무자들 간의 어떤 교류와 이런 논의가 진행을 되면서 의제도 만들어 놓고 또 거기에 대해서 결과를 조금 준비를 해놓고 정상회담을 해야 되는 것이지.
Yoon also said South Korea is capable of developing its own nuclear weapons in a short period of time, but stressed that doing so would be, quote, unrealistic, as it would entail serious economic sanctions. He underlined that compliance with the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty is more in line with South Korea's national interests. Describing the regime as, quote, an irrational force, the president added that the South must prepare to counter not only actions based on rational judgments, but also actions based on irrational conclusions. At the same time, Yoon said he would like to provide humanitarian aid to North Korea to help improve the lives of people there. The president also touched upon relations with South Korea's allies, the U.S. and Japan. Yoon showed confidence that the Seoul-Washington alliance will not be affected by the upcoming U.S. presidential election.
작년에 왔던 그 미 상원의원단이 어떤 의미 있는 얘기를 하시더군요. President changes, but Congress stands still이라는 얘기를 하더라고요. 저희는 뭐 한미 간의 관계는 동맹을 더 강화하고 동맹을 더 업그레이드 하느냐 아니냐의 문제이지 저는 뭐 큰 적이 없을 거라고 보고 있습니다.
And regardless of South Korea's recent rulings on forced labor compensation, Yoon stressed that Seoul-Tokyo relations have been restored. He explained that the ties were normalized last year as security cooperation between the two sides, as well as with the U.S., has become crucial against North Korea's nuclear threats. Regarding relations with China, Yoon said he doesn't think the basic principles of national policy and diplomacy are different between Seoul and Beijing, adding there is no need to be overly concerned. On Ukraine, the president said the supply chain issues emerging from the war can only be solved through international cooperation, and noted that South Korea is making various efforts to prevent any risks. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, in the north, marking the 76th anniversary of the foundation of the regime's army today, Pyongyang threatened to annihilate those that challenge, quote, its dignity. The regime also unilaterally struck down laws related to the inter-Korean economic cooperation. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
Thursday marks North Korea's 76th Military Foundation Day. Unlike last year, it appears the day's passing by rather quietly in the north. Back in 2023, when it celebrated the 75th anniversary, a number that's considered important in socialist states, Pyongyang held a large-scale military parade and revealed its solid-fueled intercontinental ballistic missile, the Hwasong-18. The regime's official newspaper, the Rodong-Sinmun, said on Thursday, that the North's military must continuously renew and perfect its warfighting capabilities to respond and defeat all methods of warfare that hostile forces may choose to use. It also made further threats. The paper added if the hostile forces try to, quote, so much as touch the dignity of the North or its people, the military is determined to annihilate the basis of the provocation with an unimaginable strike. With tensions rising on the Korean peninsula, Pyongyang also held a Supreme People's Assembly meeting on Wednesday and scrapped its legislation related to economic cooperation between the North and South, as well as agreements that facilitated these. We asked an expert what could be the motives behind leader Kim Jong-un's recent hostile moves against the South.
Kim Jong-un pretty clearly know that no longer can have any kind of meaningful competition with the South Korea. And even nowadays, North Korean people, it's pretty much spread of the South Korean culture is a very fundamental challenge for the North Korea.
A senior official at South Korea's Unification Ministry told reporters on Thursday that Pyongyang's unilateral announcement of the termination of the agreement doesn't mean it is no longer effective. The official added that the North's moves will only further isolate the regime. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
South Korea has decided to provide $500,000 worth of humanitarian aid to Chile, which has been battling its worst wildfires on record. Seoul's foreign ministry announced Thursday that it hopes the aid can help with the recovery efforts and for residents in the affected regions to swiftly return to their everyday lives. More than 120 people have been killed and hundreds of others remain missing after massive wildfires burned down thousands of homes in the country's Valparaiso region. Chile's president said this is the worst disaster to hit the country since the earthquake in 2010, which killed more than 500 people. After securing a major arms deal with Saudi Arabia, South Korea is now looking to further expand its defense partnership with Middle Eastern countries. That's according to Korea's defense minister having returned from the region. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Eun-ji with more.
Earlier this week, South Korea announced it'll be exporting a medium-range surface-to-air missile system to Saudi Arabia called Cheongung-2 as part of a $3.2 billion deal. The deal was signed last November between the South Korean defense firm LIG Next One and the Saudi Arabian Defense Ministry, but had been kept confidential under the terms of the agreement. Cheongung-2, also known as AMSAM-2, is designed to intercept ballistic missiles at an altitude between 15 to 40 kilometers above ground. It's also known as the Korean Patriot, as it's considered to be similar to the U.S. Patriot missile system. The deal was unveiled while South Korea's defense minister Shin Won-sik was on a visit to the Middle East. After wrapping up a week-long visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates, Shin said Thursday that South Korea hopes to pursue a long-term win-win partnership with Middle Eastern countries in terms of defense cooperation.
I discussed various projects on defense cooperation other than the MSAM-2 with the countries I visited. I cannot disclose specific details, but I can tell you that there was meaningful progress during the latest visit.
Speaking to reporters, he expressed hopes for more arms deals with these countries, noting that the Cheongung-2 deal is just the beginning and that there's more to come later this year. He also says Saudi officials expressed great interest in Korea's plan to develop a 6th-generation fighter jet based on the locally developed 4.5-generation fighter jet, the KF-21. Last week, South Korea and Saudi Arabia signed a memorandum of understanding on weapon systems research and development, raising speculation that the two countries may jointly develop the next-generation fighter jet. But a defense ministry official made it clear on Thursday that the two sides have not yet agreed on joint development. Bae Eun-ji, Arirang News.
5.5 tons of untreated radioactive water have leaked from Japan's tsunami-stricken Fukushima nuclear power plant. The plant operator, Tokyo Electric Power Company, said the leak was found by workers shortly before 9 a.m. on Wednesday, coming from a vent from a filtering device. It added some of the leak may have seeped into the soil and is believed to contain 220 times the standard level of radioactive substances, which has to be reported to the government. But it also said the leak has had no impact on the area outside the plant. The South Korean government was notified of the incident by the Japanese government and the IAEA on Wednesday and said no meaningful changes in radiation levels have been detected. Japan has been discharging the wastewater from its crippled Fukushima plant into the Pacific Ocean since August last year. Hyundai Motor Group's vehicles topped 3 out of 6 segments at the 2024 Best of Awards by Cars.com, a US-based car review website. Its Hyundai Ioniq 5, Kia Telluride, and Genesis electrified GV70 were awarded Best Electric Vehicle, Best Family Car, and Best Luxury Car, respectively. The Ioniq 5 won in the Best EV segment last year, too. The website determines the winners by assessing new models with the criteria of quality, innovativeness, and value. FC Seoul announced Thursday that they've signed former Manchester United midfielder Jesse Lingard. The K-League One club finalized the contract with Lingard 3 days after he arrived in South Korea to undergo his medical. Lingard had reportedly drawn offers from Saudi Arabia and Turkey. The 31-year-old made 232 appearances from Manchester United after progressing through the club's youth academy and is the most recognizable international name to join a K-League club. Lingard's best season with the Red Devils came in 2017 to 2018 when he netted 13 goals in 48 matches in all competitions. Lingard won the UEFA Europa League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup with the Premier League team.
Even though the relatively milder weather has continued, air quality has consistently been an issue as smoke from overseas flows in. Tomorrow, the first day of the Lunar New Year holiday, the concentration of ultrafine dust is expected to be high across the country, except for Gangwon-do province and the southern coast. This dust will not be easily resolved even during the holiday season. Don't forget to wear a mask on your way out. There won't be much cold tomorrow either. The morning temperature in Seoul and Daejeon is -3 degrees. With a cold wave warning issued in the mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province, the morning temperatures in Daegwallyeong will drop to -12 degrees Celsius. As for daily highs, Seoul will be topping out at 5, Busan 11 degrees. No major cold will be seen throughout this Lunar New Year holiday. However, on Saturday, there is rain or snow forecast in the Jeollado provinces, southern Gyeonggi-do, and the Chungcheong-do provinces. After that, inland areas will be generally clear, so there will be no inconvenience due to the weather for those returning to Seoul on Monday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast tonight. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Happy Seollal to everyone.